Cliche Podcast. Your silence hurts us. Podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. Quote, over the air radio Alamal FM on 95.5 to 98.8 megahertz. The podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us, part of the Women Peacemakers Project. Implemented by Alamal Women's and Sociocultural Foundation. The podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. Produced by Hadramaut Media and Development Foundation Radio Alamal FM. Prepared by Shadi Muhammad and Amar bin Johar. Presented by Kamar Sami. Editing and audio engineering, Amar Salem. Supervisor, Salwa Muhammad Bakhtar. Episode 5. Podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. How does the silence of the violated activist affect the issues of violation of other women? Dear listeners everywhere, who listen to Alamal FM on 89.8 and 95.5 megahertz. We welcome you to a new episode of our radio program. Podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. Today, our episode is the 5th episode, in which we welcome you again. We will discuss and review our topic on how the silence of the violated activist affects the issues of violation of other women. But before we will have a short break and come back to you again. Dear listeners everywhere, the activist strongly defends human rights in general and the violated women in particular, but all that also makes her vulnerable to being violated. We have reviewed in previous episodes the reasons that make the activist more vulnerable to violation than other women. We even learned about the types and forms of violations that an activist could be exposed to while defending the human rights of other women. In previous episodes, we reviewed the effects that result from the activist's surrender to the violation due to her silence, and lack of resistance to the violating party for fear of several reasons that we explained in the last episode, which affects her psychological and social health and may also impose pressures that make her think about negative matters, most notably suicide or stopping defense of issues of violated women or human rights. Indeed, if the psychological and social damage to the activist is exacerbated as a result of her exposure to violation, the result will be either the end of her life or her retirement from her work as an activist or defender of the rights of others, especially women. Both of these results led to an increase in the suffering of the rest of the women and a higher rate of their exposure to violation due to the activist's absence or cessation of the freedom places and stopped defending them. The psychological and social damage to the activist will only worsen after she has been subjected to the violation and has not resisted it, which is embodied in her silence and secrecy about what she was exposed to. Whatever the reasons that force her to remain silent and conceal the violation, the result is the same, which is the exacerbation of the harm and damage to the rest of the women as a result of her surrender to the violation and her exit from the field of defending the rights of others, including women, and here harm falls on the rest of the women. If every activist kept quiet about the violence she was exposed to and preferred to stop being active and respond to the impact of the violation on her from the psychological, physical, social, and economic aspects, the violated women would not have found any activist or defender to support them in their resistance. The violation has become truly catastrophic, especially since Yemen has been witnessing a state of war for years and the conflict is worsening, during which the rates of violation for all Yemeni women are rising. Dear listeners, we will have a break and then we complete our awareness journey of the Your Silence Hurts Us campaign, and we will be back. The beginning of the Focus View, introducing the campaign through the Focus View report. The Your Silence Hurts Us campaign comes within the Peacemakers project funded by DTI, to achieve justice within the Justice for Yemen Pact, which aims to monitor violations resulting from the conflict in Yemen. The project works to build the capacity of monitors and workers in the specialized Together for Her network in monitoring and documenting violations against abused women and activists defending women's rights and human rights in Hadramaut. The Women Peacemakers project will last for 19 months and includes several different activities that contribute to the process of monitoring violations for justice within the Justice for Yemen Pact. The campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, aims to mobilize and finance local and international support to improve the protection of activists defending women's rights and human rights. Improving the image of women defenders within society and increasing community awareness about violations in general and violations against women defenders in particular. The campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, was launched coinciding with the approaching 16-day activities to combat violence against women, which focuses light on the violations suffered by women and human rights defenders. The campaign adopts a message not to be silent about violations against women activists and defenders. The campaign encourages female activists to reveal what they are subjected to violations and clarify the challenges they face while defending women's rights and human rights. Dear listeners, the campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, has various activities, including this podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us, which you are listening to on Alamal FM radio. There are other activities on mass media and social media sites, including positive messages and articles about women defender activists, and a workshop that will be carried out by organizations within the Justice for Yemen Pact, to discuss all aspects that contribute to the protection of women defender activists. The end of Focus View, introducing the campaign through the Focus View report. Here we are, dear listeners. And after we have known the extent of the damage and harm that befalls the rest of the violated women due to the activist's surrender to the violation and her silence and concealment of what happened to her, it is incumbent on every individual in this society to support every activist who was subjected to violation and encourage her to resist it and not remain silent about what happened to her. Of harm, and until the violating party receives his punishment and stops violating other women. Dear activists defending human and women's rights, if you are listening to us now, be assured that by keeping silent about any violation you have been exposed to, regardless of its type or form, this will never end your suffering. Rather, the amount of pain caused to you by the violating party may increase, and may continue. You are exposed to more abuse. Do not surrender to him, but be encouraged and resist with all your strength. And now, my dear, if you accept the violation against yourself, this means that you have accepted the increasing amount of pain for hundreds and thousands of violated women. Your pain means the pain of many violated women, and your silence about the violation that befell you harms many Yemeni women in light of the war that the country is witnessing and which is on the rise. Rates of violations among women. Break. Dear listeners, we have arrived with you at the end of our episode for today, and before we conclude, we renew our call to all women who have been subjected to violations, led by Yemeni activists and defenders of human rights and other women. We appeal to them with hearts of solidarity to break the fear inside them and to report and communicate with the Together for Her network, which is for Yemeni women who work to protect violated women and monitor and document cases of violations that women are exposed to due to war. Because the war and the violations it caused also affected Yemeni women activists and defenders, the network announces that it receives reports of violations through the network's application in the Google Play Store, which bears the name, Together for Her Network, or by calling the following number, 776,520,320. The network will provide all necessary support to all women, activists, and defenders. For those who have been subjected to violation and abuse, we will work hard to stop it, prevent it, and limit its occurrence, knowing that the case is received and monitored quickly to ensure the protection of the violated case. In conclusion, Allah protects you all. Waiting for a new episode of the podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us.